Hello, folks. Sorry we're running 2 minutes late.
Hello,
Um,
world.
that was my fault. Got a little confused, but anyway, tonight we're examining an interesting beer called Carlsberg Elephant.
Woo!
Now, Carlsberg Elephant beer was introduced in 1959. Now, on their website, there's another area where it talks about 1954. So I think it was originally sold in Africa, and it got so popular that they decided to expand it worldwide. So I think really 59 is when it was introduced around the world. But whatever, that's the date they're going by. I think the situation was Carlsberg was popular in Africa, but they found out that the stronger beers was more popular, so they invented the elephant. And they said the owner of Carlsberg was like interested in elephants, so that made sense with them. And then they have the elephants at the old brewery, those little statues and those big statues that I posted. And anyway, elephant is a big, strong animal, right? Elephants don't come at you soft, so that's why they're using it, because it's like a strong beer. Elephants are strong, and it used to be called Carlsberg malt liquor, but you notice the new bottles just say Carlsberg Elephant beer.
What year was it considered a malt liquor, or is it still considered? I guess it's still considered a malt liquor.
Up until about a year ago, it said malt liquor. Now the bottle says beer.
Right.
Which, it used to be kind of you wouldn't see that on a strong item like this, 7.2% alcohol. A guy sent me, there's a guy I went to high school with, in elementary school. He sent me a can of this beer, like a 16.9 ounce can in 2010, and plus some other Carlsberg beers. And so that's the only can version I've ever had. I've only seen these embossed green bottles. Beautiful bottle. There's also a Carlsberg Elephant Extra Strong, which is 10.5%.
Wow.
And if you know Peter, the master of hoppets, he was monitoring what I was doing on Facebook, and he said, oh, wait, he said the Carlsberg Extra Strong is simply Carlsberg Special Brew, and that's what they call it when they export it, because in Denmark it's called Carlsberg Special Brew. Super high gravity, 10.5%. But anyway, from out west we have Eric Anderson. From down south we have myself in Louisiana Beer Reviews. We have Beer and TV Rambo, Jean-Pierre in Alabama. And in Indiana we have John Sharon, Zone 1. And in Massachusetts we have Massachusetts Beer Reviews with Thomas Meadow.
Hello.
Okay, now let's pop it open and start drinking this beer. 11.2 ounces is not enough for me.
I did not get much of a head from a Stella glass at all in this beer.
Now, let me ask you, who has never had this before?
Don,
you've never had it?
I've never had this beer before. First time.
You've had
First time for me.
Carlsberg.
I've had regular Carlsberg, but never this. So.
First time for Jean?
First time I had this on Saturday, I did a little, preview of this beer, and that was my first time. I've had Carlsberg, but again, this beer is kind of hard to find in my area, so.
Well, I got to drive over the river to get it the only way I can get it. So.
I had to go across Mobile Bay and Spanish Fort to get this beer.
Yeah, they no longer sell it in my town. They did sell it at Mathern's, but I guess it was a slow seller, because I noticed that Carlsberg and Carlsberg Elephant were cut.
Oh, man.
So I guess they're not making money with it sitting on the shelf,
Right.
So I love the Carlsberg Group website because it's very informative. It's one of the best beer websites out there. I mean, Heineken is one of the worst, because Heineken International, they basically say, we have a lot of beer brands, so go drink them, but we'll give you no information on it.
Tons of information.
I mean, Heineken will give a list, and that's it.
Yep.
They don't tell you anything. Now, Carlsberg is very extensive, and I have their website called up right here, and it says Carlsberg Elephant Beer. Well, let's start looking at it and smell. Up north, you two up north guys. Now I got a lot of head on mine. What about y'all?
I didn't get much of any, but I did tilt the glass when I poured it, so that might be the reasoning why.
I don't.
Still, I have plenty of lacing.
Wait. We're going up north first.
Yeah, I'm noticing the body of the beer is quite cloudy, or it's sediment rich. It's got little tiny like white particles floating about the beer. That's what I noticed. It looks.
Yes, I was about to comment about that. You're right.
Yeah, it's kind of. It's got like that hazy orangey gold type color.
There's a lot of sediment. It's not super filtered.
No, so it doesn't really look like any kind of European lager or American lager I've ever had before. So it's very unique looking in a interesting way, not in a bad way.
You were talking about the Molson Triple X, which is 7.3.
Yes.
But that one's a lot more filtered, right?
From the time I've had it, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
John, Zone 1.
Well, mine's it's a pretty light copper color. A lot of carbonation on it. My head went away fairly quick. It's got some decent lacing still on the glass, but as for the sediment, I'm looking at the glass. I don't see much. Maybe a few little particles in it, but just bubbles streaming from the bottom of high carbonation.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
It's a typical. I mean, it's not typical, but it's definitely a lager, right?
Yeah.
How about there in down south in Alabama?
Well, I'm looking at this, Jay, and I kind of agree with the gentleman. That is a nice little color, a little orangey color, but difference with mines, I have mines in the freezer. So before we got started with our review, so maybe some ice crystals, obviously being in there, but when I just finished the first one. This is my second bottle now. My first beer of the day. It has a little bit of head, not much. So, looks fine to me.
The appearance is like Eric was saying. I'm getting a little lacing around the sides. This is imported by St. Killian Importers, and on their website, there's an excellent locator tool. You type in your zip code, it'll tell you what stores sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the Schlitz website, if you type in your zip code, it'll actually tell you which stores sell it in your area.
I've been to those two stores, and they say, what? What Schlitz? Never mind. Thank you. I'll see you later.
Sorry.
Bummer.
I know.
Fredericia, Denmark. Used to be Copenhagen, but they moved it out to the suburbs. Now, out in California, what do you get?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a fairly good head. It's true the lacing tends to disappear rather quickly, not at all like last week's beer. But it did have a pretty good head that has retained pretty well. And it's clearly, just very highly carbonated, just endless stream of little bubbles coming up. I mean, color was noted like a kind of a mine doesn't seem very cloudy. It's a more clear straw color.
It's not that it's cloudy, but if you look real carefully, you can pick up little particles, little sediment particles.
Yeah, I see the carbonation, but I don't see sediment.
I'm seeing like, it looks like somebody took a pillow and beat on it and made all the dust from top to bottom.
It is kind of dusty looking.
And that's got to be the sediment, but
something like that.
I'm gonna read something I'm gonna look at the website real fast and give you some information for a moment. Okay, not long. The color is light golden amber. Okay, and the foam white. Yep, is the tip of the waves of the oceans.
Right.
The ample use of malt gives elephant a vinous, that means like wine, and rich character. The high hop content in elephant gives a masculine bitter bite to the beer. Now, going down here, it says Carlsberg elephant goes very well with all spicy spicy dishes, and it is particularly well suited for the Thai kitchen, Cajun dishes, and Mexican food. Now, there's actually a section here where Carlsberg Brewmaster made a recipe called beer and mussels gumbo.
Ooh.
And they made beer and mussels gumbo using Carlsberg Elephant. It says European dishes with root vegetables and or sauces. Now I'm eating it with these wheat crackers and Limburger cheese. Now if you've ever had Limburger cheese, you know that stuff is very pungent and aromatic, or some people
Strong, very strong.
Yeah, some people would say smelly. But it really goes well with this beer. But let's get into the flavor, the most important part of these examinations.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, clink.
Cling.
Okay, now Eric and John, what do y'all think about the flavor?
I'm kind of getting, just like I had typed in on our little group chat here, that I'm getting in the smell, just like in the taste, I'm getting that American malt liquor kind of, that corn syrupy sweetness thing going on. And I'm actually getting some kind of like apple juiciness to it. I'm not getting much of the malt besides it's a perceived sweetness to me, but I'm getting this apple juicy, like ripe fruit kind of quality. Not a dark fruit, but more of like apples or pears or something.
Maria talks about that.
And I guess there is, I don't want to say green bottle, but these European lagers all have that, seem to all have that similar yeast bread. Like, I guess this would be more along the lines of white bread than like a biscuity kind of a note. But I get that bready yeast note and those sweet malts and that apple juice quality. That's what I'm getting.
No skunk.
I don't think I'm getting skunk. I think that flavor I'm getting is the yeast flavor, not so much of a skunk.
No. John, zone 1.
You're going to get that breadiness and the graininess out of it, but I also get just a little bit of a floral note out of it, and the hop presence to me is kind of herbally in it, but I think you get it's like the malt presence is kind of sweet, but overall, I mean, it's an otherwise pretty good beer. I don't think it's the hop presence in it is real high though. I think it's more the malts than it is the hops, but the hops to me, like I said, is more of an herbally type hop.
Well, I'm going to comment on that. We probably won't be friends anymore. But now,
uh-oh.
Well, I don't know where he gets off disagreeing with me. Okay, now, Jean.
Well, immediately, as you guys were saying, I smell a little bit of that sweetness, maybe that with most European wine, that sweet grass type scent. But overall, it's not overly strong. 7.2%. This is pretty light to me. I'm just that's just my view of it.
What about the flavor?
The flavor, when I had it the first time, it had a nice little finish, a little bit maybe I don't want to say citrus, but it wasn't that. A little bready, just as a bit, herbal kind of thing, but it went down pretty smooth. I wouldn't, to me, and I've had Carlsberg before, the original. I think this is probably better than the original Carlsberg, my opinion.
Well,
Whoa.
I tend to agree with that. Now, okay, I've had Elephant a lot of times. I find, okay, people are saying you're going to eat Limburger cheese and then you're going to evaluate a beer, yo. Now, it's got a rich, malty flavor. It's sweet, but it's not too sweet. Probably 3 out of 5 sugar cubes. I do pick up the hops, the bitterness. Yeah, I understand what John's saying, the herbal. I agree with that. It's got a little grassiness, but there's definitely a hop bitterness at the end. It's like it comes in low, and then it kind of does this around your tongue, and it's there. I'm talking about goes front your mouth to the back, and that bitterness goes around the sip. and it's there. Like they say, it's got a bite to it. If they didn't add a lot of hops, it would be so sweet you'd want to spit it out, I bet you. It kind of does remind me of the Molson Triple X, though, in a way, because that beer, if you think about that beer long enough, although after drinking 32 ounces of it, or that, what is that, a 25-ounce can?
25.4-ounce can, I believe.
Yeah, you may have trouble thinking. But,
Oh.
because that's a lot of beer for that level. But that Molson Triple X has a lot of those characteristics, like that bitterness that comes in low and then it grows as you sip on it. And it has that bite. Now, I find the Triple X is maybe a little more cloying sweet, but not gross-like. You know, like if I had to drink a malt liquor, Triple X would be one of my first choices. But we can't get it here anyway, so why not?
I definitely agree with that. That Molson Triple X's.
Would the Triple X guys be similar to the Ballantine Ale? Kind of similar?
No, it's stronger, it's richer, it's more alcoholic. It's,
It's like probably more like an Old English, I would guess.
Yeah, but with more bite to it.
Yeah, maybe
what's
more
the
like
ABV on that
high
one?
gravity. Yeah.
When you drink
What's the ABV on that one?
Yeah, when you drink Triple Export, it's like you're boxing, you know, like you hitting it and then it hits you back.
So Triple X is 7.3%.
Yeah. And they make it in America, and it's made in America now too. Some of the cans and bottles you'll get, it'll say made in USA.
It's pretty much a Canadian brand version of a Foster's style kind of a can deal. It's almost the same size.
But that Triple Export is made with corn, or it could be corn syrup, whatever, you know, but corn. This one I don't think is. I think this is just water, barley malt, hops, and yeast. But I don't know. I can't speak for Carlsberg. Maybe they add corn. I don't know. But I want to go to California and see what Eric thinks about all that we're saying here.
I mean, yeah, I pretty much agree. I mean, I do definitely check what John's saying. It's a very hint of a floral note. There is a little bitter hop finish more towards the end. It definitely is sweet. I mean, there's no going around that. And yeah, I mean, almost I could kind of compare it to standard malt liquor, but it's superior to most that you would buy, I would say.
Yeah, it tastes like the Carlsberg Elephant. It's definitely made with higher quality ingredients than say St. Ides malt liquor for sure.
Yeah.
But I've never even had original Carlsberg. This is the first I've ever had of any of this stuff.
Well, it's similar, you know, but Carlsberg is much milder, and you know, it's only 5%. So think about Elephant, but in a much milder way.
I mean, it does almost in a way kind of remind me of like Steel Reserve, but it's just not as cloyingly sweet. It has a little bit more flavor to it, but in the back of my mind, that's kind of what I almost equate it to is that more so, and there's no skunkiness at all.
Steel Reserve Triple Export, possibly.
I mean, it's better. It's a lot better than Steel Reserve. Okay, I mean, put that out there, but I'm just saying, I could see you take away a little bit of flavor, add a lot more sugar, give it a little bit more corn flavor, and it's kind of there.
You ever had the Triple Export, the black can from Steel Reserve?
No, I have not.
I've never even seen that in my area.
See that black can? That's the key right there, because it's got the exact same fat, grams of fat, alcohol, across the board as Steel Reserve, right? So,
but they wouldn't I'm sorry, Jay, but they wouldn't categorize this as a malt liquor, you know? So how dare we? Carlsberg Elephant malt liquor? Unheard of.
I got look, wait a minute. I have ads from the 1970s and 80s where Carlsberg sold it. It was called Elephant Malt Liquor. Now, there was no stigma in 1975. That was like you wanted that on your label. Now, because maybe people with a little more money would buy it. Now, You want it on the label so that bums in the street can buy it.
Right.
Well, we're fighting against that right now.
On their price point.
Cheers.
Cheers. Now, John.
Yes.
You mad at me, or do you agree a little bit that there's a little hoppiness? You don't have to agree.
I think there's a little bit of hopness at the end of it. It's still, I still get that. I think it's some kind of herbal hop though.
Yeah, like Mickey's.
Yeah.
I still think it's got some kind of like apple or apple juicy quality. I'm still getting that kind of a feel out of it. Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I wish Maria was here because she can pick up on those things, you know.
I don't know if all of this stuff that was floating around is like the yeast, and maybe the yeast is giving it that kind of a juicy flavor. I don't know. I'm not sure, but
and you are kind of right, Jay. It almost hits you like a little bit like a Mickey's.
I'm noticing that when I initially gave you my thoughts and opinions on the smell and the taste of the beer, that when I swirled the beer around, as if really they want you to do that, but I swirled the beer around and I got more of the flavors out of that beer. And I don't know if it's because of all this yeast particles are now incorporated into the beer and I'm getting all the flavors that are intended, but I'm noticing a lot of that grassy flavor that you're all mentioning and more of that slight bitterness towards the end of the finish.
Yeah. Now, I think you're on the right track with that. You swirled it. I don't know. Let me see. You know, Mickey's is only 5.6. Oh, going back to that Steel Reserve real fast. A friend of mine wrote a letter to Miller, and they said, absolutely, it is not the same recipe. Steel Reserve Triple Export and Steel Reserve is the same alcohol by volume, but they said it is not the same recipe. So we were saying, well, how could it be everything identical? Here's what somebody said. They're probably using different types of hops.
Oh.
That wouldn't change the ABV. They could control that.
I've never seen that, the black can.
Nope.
I'd love to, though.
Jay, if you're traveling through Alabama, just right on the border with Georgia, right on the border, I saw plenty of cans of the Triple S one. I said, damn it, I should have bought me a can while I was up here.
That's where I'll stop every time. It's called Pilot. It's a Pilot gas station. It's off of I-59. It's when you cross into Georgia, that little corner of Georgia. I've been buying Triple Export there for years. They always sell it for about $2 for $3.
Damn.
Those big 24-ounce cans. Oh, yes, 24-ounce cans. They have troubled people all around the Southeast buying those cans.
Wow.
Helping destroy their own lives. But I buy it.
I get mine in Mississippi when I go down to the, Moss Point. When I go to Moss Point, Pascagoula, it's all over. I'll get my cans from there.
You can get the black. You can get the black.
The black cans, right? The Triple Export.
And Old English High Gravity in Mississippi, which is bizarre because you still can't get it here.
So when I come down to New Orleans, we cut through. I could possibly find that.
If we go to Mississippi.
Yeah. I don't guess we come through Mississippi, do we?
Oh, I thought you're gonna drive now.
Yeah, we're driving. Well, we're driving because me and my wife stopped in Mississippi, but that's a different story. So let's go on with this.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely talk to you because you can definitely score some stuff. Okay, that's another project. Now, not to mention that Old English High Gravity. Now, but back to this beer. It has that, like John said, that Mickey's, and you kept saying herbal, and I was like, what is he talking about? And then it hit me. I said, Mickey's. No beer has that herbal thing like that Mickey's, That's a unique beer. And then if you drink the Mickey's Ice Brewed Ale, that's even more unique-er.
Herbal.
But you'll never find that Ice Brewed Ale anywhere in your life.
We can get Mickey's, but I've never seen the ice.
Florida.
This beer to me has a lot of flavor when it finishes. Like most of its flavor to me, honestly, is when it finishes. It has all that herbal. I guess I'm picking up that herbal note and all the bittering notes towards the end.
See, I love a beer with a bite.
Yep. That's malt liquor for you. And
I've been talking too
strong.
much. I've been talking too much.
It's definitely got a bite. But the more it warms up, the more of the malt liquor I get out of it.
I'd like to see more places and bars and restaurants, even if it's not the Elephant, carry the Carlsberg because it's a nice variety and change from Stella and Heineken. It's definitely, it's not a step out, but it's definitely a different option that you don't see every day at a bar or a restaurant.
Well, you go into a big warehouse package store like where I had to buy this at. I mean, this is one of those beers that there's so many people in there looking at craft beers and the other beers. That this is probably one of those beers that people just walk by and go, I'm not going to buy that.
It's a shame because it could beat.
This is an expensive 6-pack for a beer that I think it was a little less than $9. But I mean, this is a good beer for a 6-pack of beer for a comparable price with a great taste.
Yep,
it is.
Oh, you can buy all kind of craft beers, and half of them won't be as good as this.
That's exactly right.
Now, I mean, half of them will be better. Well, let's say a quarter of them will be better. Another quarter of them will be just as good, and then the other half won't be as good. Now, that's my opinion, you know.
And Jay, the key is quality control. It's all about quality control. There it is.
Thank you.
But you're going to get a consistent beer.
It reminds me a lot of that. Because I think they used to make that private stock Heppenreffer in Massachusetts somewhere, and when it was around and I wanted to buy a 40, it was the one that I would go to because it had the most beer-like flavor and less of a just high gravity, syrupy, slick sweetness to it.
Yeah, but that Heffenreffer private stock,
yes,
it could get a little gross if you kept drinking it. But this one won't get that way. Now I'm not ripping on Heffenreffer, but it's going. They don't make it anymore. The last time I bought that beer was in Kentucky, in 2014.
What's that?
Heffenreffer private stock. I bought a 6-pack of that. I bought a 6-pack of that in Kentucky, in Covington, Kentucky, at Stadium Liquors. They had one 6-pack left. It's gone. It's out of business.
I think their slogan was the one with the imported taste because it came in a green bottle 40.
Yeah, the malt liquor with the imported taste, and they might have been shooting for the Elephant flavor, and they came close. They didn't hit it, but they came.
Yep.
Now, the biggest question, well, not the biggest question, a question is, would you buy it again? Now, I'm going to say, of course I'll buy it again. I bought Elephant so many times. Every time I buy Elephant, I'm like a little kid, like, yay, I'm about to drink Elephant. So you know I buy it again. But out there in California, Eric, would you buy it again?
So my closing thoughts on this beer are, I mean, I would probably buy it again, but it's a strange situation because, okay, like 1664 last week, I thought 1664 was an exceptional beer. I mean, I like that a lot more than this. If I was going to choose a beer for drinkability, it's going to be 1664 over this beer like every single time. But I think this is a drinkable beer. You know, it's got a decent price point, about $9. Then that's kind of the same price point as Eye of the Hawk, which is 8% and also an exceptional beer, also kind of sweet. But in the same situation, I'd probably drink Eye of the Hawk over this as well. So it's in a weird situation. I probably would order it again if I feel in the mood for it, but I'm more likely to feel in the mood for 1664 or Eye of the Hawk or something else in that price range. You know, even Grolsch maybe I would prefer over this as well. It's the same kind of area. So, I mean, it puts it in a kind of strange spot, but it is a strong beer, and I could see bringing it to a place. I would drink this on occasion, but it's just probably not going to be ever a go-to.
Hey, but let's give Carlsberg their props, because they have an advertisement that I posted on Facebook yesterday that said what? Give this beer a chance because it takes some getting used to. So they admit that it's kind of strong, and you may not like it at first, but if you drink more of it, you may. So they recognize that it's not necessarily
It's very drinkable for how alcoholic it is. You don't very much taste the alcohol. It's not overpowering. It's a very drinkable beer. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's bad, and I probably would order it again. I just think there are other beers I just prefer a little bit more for different reasons.
Yeah, I got you. So you would order again with reservations?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Now, Jean?
Unfortunately, I had to go across Mobile Bay, on I-10, eastbound, get off on, I believe is 35, whatever, to get to Spanish Fort, Alabama, to buy this beer. If it was sold in Mobile, yeah, I would get it. But if I had to go all the way out to Spanish Fort again to get the beer, maybe if I wanted something a little nice, something different. It's a good beer, a very enjoyable beer. I like it. I think I said it's better than the Carlsberg. And the Kronenberg, I kind of agree with Eric what he's saying with the Kronenberg. I thought it was very classic when I bought it. A shame that I can't find it here. Well, take that back. I saw it the other day at Rouse's in Mobile. That was the only spot that had it, sadly. But overall, I think it's a very good beer. I would buy it again, no doubt. I think 7.2 is very good, very enjoyable, and I think it's better than the original Carlsberg. So.
Okay. You talking about U.S. Highway 31? I just looked at a map. That runs all the way up to the top of the United States. One of those long, long highways.
Mm-hmm.
Runs up to my area too. 31.
Yeah, 31 is an old highway. And it goes from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to the top.
Hey, I live off 31, so.
Wow. All right, so if you look in the stalk, John. Yeah.
Highway 31 by Kentucky.
Don't be mad at us if you find a rabbit in your pot on a stove. Now,
Zone 1.
Now, but I'll give you one little clue about those highways. Anytime you see those old highways and they end in a 1, that means it goes from the top to the bottom of the United States. Because we got Highway 11 and it goes from New Orleans to Quebec, Canada. Okay.
Interstate 81.
And Route 1.
Yeah.
Highway 1 goes from Kent, Maine, all the way to Key West, Florida. That's right. That's the big,
long highway. Yep.
Yeah. And when you go down to Key West, there's a sign, end of the highway. And you're like at the end of everything.
Wow.
Okay. Next stop, Havana. Now, that's interesting. But, John and then Eric, Thomas Metal, would you buy this again?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, would you buy this again, John?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. And yeah, I think this is a great beer. This, to me, and let me say this. This is one of those beers I'd like to introduce to the beer nerd or the beer geeks that only drink craft beer. This is one of those beers I'd like to introduce to them, not to start somebody on a craft beer, because I don't think this is really considered a craft beer since it's been around since the 50s. But to me, this is a phenomenal beer. I'd like to see it. If you put this beer on a gas tap and not like a craft bar, but like a bar. I think there's a lot of people that really go bunkers over this beer.
You mean like a nice restaurant?
Yeah. And, maybe if you put it on tap at somewhere that had a whole lot of gas taps and just put gas tap on it with all the other, craft beers on draft, I think people would flock to this, and they'd probably like it till you tell them what it is.
Yeah, it's rich. It has character. Well, John, let's be honest. Most Americans would like it, and they would be impressed because it's from Denmark. Yeah. It's Carlsberg. The only people I would roll their eyes about it and make some disparaging comments are the beer snobs who hate everything, So,
yeah.
But most people would probably say, oh, yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's rich. It has a lot of character. This is a beer that has a lot of character to me. And no, I do not work for Carlsberg, nor do I have any stock investments in Carlsberg Group. I just like it because they put out a great website, and the beer tastes good, and they're just cool, But anyway,
This is one of those beers that I could probably sit down. I could probably drink 2 or 3 of them and really enjoy them. And hey, Thomas, metal on that way, bud. I mean, these are great beers.
John is a drinker who's dedicated to his hobby. Now, Eric, Thomas Metal, Massachusetts Beer Reviews. Would you buy this again?
Well, I don't know if I think some people know, but I am a really, I don't buy it enough, but I am a pretty big junkie for the original Carlsberg. That's got to be up there in one of my favorite beers of all time. Just a normal, everyday sort of a pale looking lager. But over the course, and I've had this beer one other time, and the other time that I had it, I didn't really think much of this beer. I'm liking it a lot more now that I'm drinking it. I can see the similarities to the original Carlsberg. It just has a bigger perceived sweetness, a bigger malty profile. I'm not sure that I can say that I would prefer this beer, the Elephant, over the Carlsberg original lager, but it's got so many similarities, and it's just like an imperial version of that beer that I think I would buy this again. I don't notice in my area that I can get 6-packs of this, but every now and then if I go to my local store and I do the mix of 6 where I get 6 single bottles, I might start to pick this one up every now and then. It's really nice and pleasurable to drink. Yeah.
Okay, last question. Who in this group would have the guts to try Carlsberg Elephant Extra Strong if you could ever get it, which we never could get it?
I would try it. I would try it too. But if I can get it, cool.
Jay, did you know they made an Elephant Red too?
Wow.
Oh, but they don't make it anymore. Yeah, that's right. It was a red beer. Yeah.
I mean, does it start tasting like Hurricane? I mean, at a certain point. Like,
Now, Jay, they actually make two. They actually make 2 Elephant Strongs. They make an extra strong from Carlsberg Group, and they make an extra strong Carlsberg Group out of India.
Oh, okay. Yes. Let me explain that. Carlsberg does sell a lot of beers in India, just like Miller. Like if you go to India, Miller has like a big. This is why Anheuser-Busch bought out Miller, not because they wanted to get Miller Genuine Draft. Forget all that. They wanted their Indian and African market.
There it is. That's what it was about.
Okay, that's the 2 parts of the world where beer is a growing commodity. In the rest of the world, Europe and America, it's declining. People are going to hard liquor and wine so they can show off. Or maybe they like
wine and craft beer too. So they say.
Yeah, but that's right. Craft beer is growing, but beer overall is not. It's declining. But in Africa and in Asia, it's growing. So India is like a big growth area, and they have strong people in India. Don't play around. If you gave them a 5% beer, they'd be so insulted. If you go to India, everything is 7-8% alcohol.
Wow.
And they have beers like, yeah, that's right. They have Budweiser Magnum, which is 8%. That's like the regular Budweiser in India, 8% Budweiser Magnum. If you go to India, they have a Miller beer called Knockout.
Nice.
It's 7%.
Beer bong.
That's right. So Carlsberg Elephant is right in the middle of that group. So if you went to India, every beer you'd be grabbing, it'd be 7-8%. I mean, that's just the way it works. If you go down to Africa, that's what they drink. They drink Guinness. But what Guinness do they drink in Africa? Foreign Extra, 7%.
Or the extra stout, or maybe whatever,
And that 8% when it's called Guinness Special Brew, 8%. So they're not playing around down there. So, I mean, yeah, they have shootouts and a lot of people get killed and whatnot. But they drink. But that being said, they drink a lot of strong beers in Asia. I'm talking about South Asia, like India and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and in Africa. If you go to Egypt, there's this really strong beer in Egypt. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, so that's it, folks. We can talk about this all night, but we're not. Carlsberg Elephant, we liked it. You might like it. We recommend that you try it, we think. Hey, Jay, do you have a Piggly Wiggly that does? Yeah, it's called Food for Less.
Yeah, we got one here too, exactly.
Of course, if you sit down with a
10%, right.
sit down with a calculator, you might figure out that it's food for more. But all right. So,
I mean, the Greer's. The reason why I say that because the Greer shopping center, where they do what Eric was talking about. Thomas Metal. You do your pick six is like $7.99, and for the of different styles of beer, and look at it and I'm saying to myself, you know what? It's a shame I can buy just one beer or two or three, but I have to do a pick six, to $7.99. Then they add it. It's like damn, it's like almost like $10.
That's right. It's called a ripoff.
Exactly, and I wish I could go to Rouse's, but oh well.
That's why I don't go to Food for More.
I don't. I'm trying to stop going, but it's right around the corner. We need something real quick. Grab it, go.
I call it Food for More. But when you make that trip to New Orleans, me and you gonna do a lot of shopping, and it ain't gonna be for shoes.
Hey, I got plenty of shoes, brother. I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Okay, thanks, folks, for watching this video production. Next week, we're looking at a very famous light beer that John and Zone 1 has never had, which I find bizarre.
Yeah.
Michelob Ultra. You may have heard of Michelob Ultra, folks.
Exercise beer.